OK, let's take a look at Israeli attacks on aid sites so far. The government media office in Gaza says more than 100 people have been killed in Israeli strikes on aid distribution points since May the 27th. 490 people have been injured while seeking food in the 8 days since the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation opened its aid sites. The GHF set up 4 food distribution points, there they are, across Gaza. 3 are in Rafah in southern Gaza and 1 is near the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza. Collectively, they must cater for more than 2 million people who've endured, as we all know, of course, many months of total blockade by Israel. All right, let's introduce Jeremy Laurence, who's a spokesperson for the United Nations Human Rights Office. He joins us now from Geneva. A very, very warm welcome to you, Jeremy. So, firstly, I wonder if you can help us understand what is exactly happening at these aid distribution points in Gaza. Attacks on civilians trying to access food aid has been described as unconscionable by the UN rights chief. Can you dissect that description, unconscionable, for us? What is the UN seeing that concerns you the most about the way the US and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation operates?
Well, to start with, yes, today's been another tragic day. This is 3 days in a row whereby Palestinians approaching the GHF centres have come under attack. And sadly, according to information we've received, over these 3 days, 62 people have been killed. As the High Commissioner said this morning, the acts are unconscionable. Can you imagine someone who is so desperate for food that they are making this trek over a long distance, and the fear that they must have, one, that they could even be shot, or that they may even come back with no food and they're at the risk of starvation. It's, as the High Commissioner says, unconscionable that they are being put through such misery, pain. It's extraordinary.
How far is the United Nations top brass prepared to go here in dissecting and being very clear about what is happening in Gaza right now? Is what is being witnessed in Gaza around the current distribution of aid, off the back of the deliberate withholding of aid to the Strip for many months now, tantamount to war crimes?
Well, there are 2 things here that I must point out to you. The first one is this. Attacks directed against civilians constitute a grave breach of international law. That is a war crime. That's the first point. The second thing is willfully impeding access to food or other life-sustaining supplies for civilians may also constitute a war crime. So these are very important points to draw to your attention when it comes to international law. Now, with respect to these specific incidents that have happened over the past 3 days, given we're getting conflicting reports, one from the Israeli side, one from the information we're receiving, there is nothing but the only solution from here is an impartial and independent investigation into this.
My next question to you was going to be, you're the United Nations. What are you going to do about it? If you are able, as you have done, to walk us to the precipice of saying what we are seeing is on the verge of being quite clearly described as war crimes, you as the United Nations have the power to do something, to make the world more aware of what is happening and potentially act upon it from a legal standpoint. What is in your power as the United Nations?
Well, our powers, as in the United Nations, are sitting here talking to you today and raising our concerns with application of international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and to ensure that those rules, which are sacrosanct in the international order system that we live in, are respected.
How much faith do you have in that international order, given that we've seen cases brought to the International Court of Justice, the likelihood that genocide is being carried out in Gaza? We have seen legal cases at the International Criminal Court as well against Israeli leaders, including Benjamin Netanyahu. How much faith is there left in these institutions that are the bedrock, of course, of the post-World War era?
Well, all we can do is keep on assessing the situation that's happening on the ground, whether it be our office or other UN offices or these brave civil society organisations and NGOs on the ground in Gaza, and the Gazans themselves, the civilians who are reporting back to us what's happening. Because all this is evidence, and it's evidence that must be preserved, because we always say there must be justice served. And there are mechanisms in this world, and they have proven effective in the past. International mechanisms who have held people to account, and people who have contravened these sacrosanct rules have ended up in jail.
Jeremy, I hear your frustration, I hear your concern, and I can clearly see that you do have a shred of faith and belief in international norms when it comes to justice. But let me ask you this final question. When Israeli forces see big concentrations of desperate Palestinians running towards them, what do you think they see?
That's a difficult question. I can tell you what I would like them to see, and that is humans who desperately need help and who are potentially starving, and all they want is to live and to provide food and other supplies to their families and maybe their friends.
Jeremy Laurence, spokesperson for the United Nations Human Rights Office. Good to have you on Al Jazeera. Many thanks for your time.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.